Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features The Incredible Hulk, issue number 379, cover dated March 1991. The cover is by Dale Keown, inked by Bob McLeod. It features a close-up on the face of the newest iteration of the Hulk, the Professor persona, or the persona that would become known as the Professor. And we can see also that Keown has drawn into the cover logo various aspects of the Hulk. So basically Peter David has characterized the Hulk as someone suffering from multiple personality disorder. So we've got Bruce Banner himself there, we've got the original Hulk, we've got the Grey Hulk, and I'm not quite sure what to make of this fourth figure there on the K of Hulk, whether that's supposed to be the new iteration or whether it's some other version of the Hulk that I am unaware of. And for this particular cover, we also have a miniature of the figure of the Hulk from issue 377, which introduced this new Hulk version. And also what I like is that there's included here in the bottom corner box a copy and reduction of the full face drawn here by Keown. So you can see that some of the hatching lines, they've closed up, they're tighter here in the reduced sized reproduction. But what you do get to see is all of the work he put into the hair there, which is obscured by the cover logo. So this is a really striking cover. It's definitely one with the double lighting as well. Very much a kind of a leitmotif of Dale Keown's work. It is a cover that would absolutely get your attention from the racks at the time. Let's open this one up to the first page, and we continue to get our introduction to this new cast of characters that we will soon come to know as the Pantheon. And we have here a close-up on their headquarters, the Mount. We don't have a specific location for it, but I think it's supposed to be Nevada, in the desert maybe. And somebody here is calling out for Delphi, Delphi, wait. Blast it, you know I detest running. What are you, woman, deaf? So interesting kind of layout of the speech balloons here. We could have had this speech balloon here in panel 1, but instead we have it reaching across to an image of Paris running behind Delphi here down this metallic corridor, and her response comes here in this particular panel. That's what I find interesting, is the play with the layout, but it works if you follow the speech balloons. I hear you, Paris. She says, I'm just ignoring you. So he dryly responds, flatterer, Delphi, I'm simply trying to get a feeling from you about this Hulk business. And this all goes back to issue 377 when we saw them in the shadows discussing the Hulk. And she responds, I know the kind of feeling on your mind, Paris, keep your hands in sight. As for the Hulk, the answer is yes, he will join us. So Paris, who's a schemer, says, I can't say I'm especially happy about that. And she replies, you won't be, no one will be. And he says, so I'm going to turn out to be right. How pleasant, hopefully a valuable lesson for the future. How about Ulysses, will he survive this misadventure? Yes, she says. Ah, well, is his response. Must take the bad with the good, I suppose. So, you know, every reader is conjecturing here about the nature of the relationships between these different characters, that there's some antipathy here between Delphi and Paris, that he is a womanizer perhaps. He's got designs on her, but she's not interested. There's also, of course, the names coming from Greek mythology. And Paris, of course, in Greek mythology was a legendary seducer, seducing and abducting Helen, the wife of Menelaus, and taking her to Troy, which set off the whole Trojan War, the 10 years Trojan War. So Peter David playing around with that classical mythology and learning, but reconfiguring those names and certain parts of the characterizations of the legendary characters for this new cast of characters the Pantheon. And Delphi here, in ancient Greece, there was the famous Oracle of Delphi. So we have the sense that Delphi is a seer, a prophetess, and also we're reminded of Cassandra from, again, ancient Greek mythology, who was a seer, who was tragically cursed to be able to see the future, but never believed by anyone. But we're not quite getting that here. Paris takes her at her word. And then we're into the story proper with the Hulk. And so we get another good look at the Hulk here, this new version of him, where we can kind of infer that if Leonard Samson is, let's say, 6'2", that the Hulk is, what are we looking at there? Maybe 8.5 foot tall, something like that. So he's not as huge as the original Hulk, and he's taller than the Grey Hulk. So, you know, it's intriguing. And also he has that big smile on his face like he does on the cover. So he is brimming with confidence. And this is because we have an integrated personality now for the first time in respect of Bruce Banner. We've got Bruce Banner's intelligence, we have Joe Fixit's cunning and confidence, and we have the original Hulk's strength and determination. The new Hulk says, "Barkeep, drinks for the house on me." So we've never seen Bruce Banner drinking before, and this is another intriguing little clue to us as to the character of this new version of the Hulk. Creative credits down here at the bottom, and we have Peter David, writer, rest in peace, penciler Dale Keown, inker Mark Farmer. So that's interesting too. So Bob McLeod has been the inker over Keown's pencils since Keown arrived on the title with issue 367, but now Mark Farmer is coming aboard, and he's going to be for the future inking over Keown's pencils, and you get a lot more detail in Farmer's inks than there was in McLeod's. McLeod's kind of clarified the art a little bit more, whereas Farmer's adding a lot more hatching and rendering to Keown's pencils. The letters are by Joe Rosen and the colours are by Glynis Oliver. So this is an interesting panel here. We get a side shot of the Hulk walking up to the bar, and Keown has given us like characters here in the foreground. Everybody's standing on the same horizon line. Then in the middle ground, we've got the Hulk, Ringmaster, and Leonard Samson. And again, we get that sense of how tall he is, maybe 8.5 foot tall. And then in the background there, the other patrons of the bar. Drinks, and there's a little joke, of course. So Samson says, "Bruce, you don't have any money." And Bruce Hulk says, "Drinks for the house on him." So then the scene switches, or not the scene, but our perspective switches to outside the bar. So we see the name of it there, Big Bob's. And here in the shadows, there are two characters watching proceedings. And one of them here in armor says, "There he is, let's get him." And the other one says, "We're not going to get him. Remember the plan, Ajax. If we can avoid violence, then we do. Want to hit him, looks stupid, but okay." So this character here, this huge character named Ajax, and Ajax in ancient Greek mythology was a Greek warrior who was second only to Achilles in strength and ferocity. He's here speaking like a little bit of a dimwit, maybe I'll put it that way. But this other character whose names we don't know just yet is smarter, and they're observing proceedings outside the bar that the Hulk has gone into. So this is a very well-drawn panel here. Again, we've got characters in the foreground with a little screen tone over them so that our eye goes directly to the Hulk. He's trying to squeeze into that booth, and he says they don't seem to make booths in double extra large. Bad enough there isn't a no smoking section. The waitress says, "Sirs, you really shouldn't sit there. And Samson says, "We'll find somewhere else." But the Hulk says, "Nonsense, we'll improvise." So he pulls the table out of the ground in order to make space for himself to sit down at the booth. The waitress says that was bolted to the floor, and he replies, "What a stunning grasp of the obvious." So this doesn't sound like Bruce Banner. It doesn't sound like the original Hulk. It sounds a little bit more like Joe Fixit than anything else. And again, like I've said before, we're just conjecturing, inferring as we go through this issue about this new version of the Hulk. Then he sits down and he apologizes, and this does not sound like Joe Fixit. "I'm sorry, that was terribly rude, my apologies. That sounds more like Bruce." And then he asks you, "Budweiser on tap?" The waitress says yes. Then he asks, "What does the ringmaster want?" Ringmaster wants a vodka stinger. "What does Samson want?" "A club soda." And then a joke from Hulk: "Samson, you lush, you." So he does irony. And Samson's not amused. "Bruce, perhaps this wasn't a good idea. Maybe we should return to the hospital." And the Hulk says, "Leonard, what is the problem here? You and Ringy succeeded. You can write papers off this for the rest of your lives. Books. The curing of the most destructive multiple personality disorder of the century. Sybil got tons of PR, and I'll bet she could never have leveled Rhode Island." So this was a famous case of a multiple personality disorder sufferer that came out in the 1970s with a book titled Sybil. And the particular American woman in question had 16 personalities wrapped up inside her. So that's the little reference there. You can look that one up if you are inclined to. And you can see there that the Hulk downs that pint of Budweiser in one. And I like the little detail of his little finger kind of pointed out there. So there's a delicacy with which he downs the pint of beer. It's interesting stuff. I like it. I like the way that we can pay attention to what we're seeing and get more than is coming to us merely just from the dialogue. And Peter David isn't, like having to write in any narrative captions to kind of cue our interpretation. He's delighted with Dale Keown's art and the subtleties of it, no doubt. So Leonard here with a cocked eyebrow says, "Bruce, you don't drink. Not in all the time I've known you. And you ripped out that table without the least concern over property destruction. This merging of your three personalities is new for all of us." And Bruce interrupts, "The Three Faces of Bruce. Good movie title. I never drank before, Leonard, because of my need to maintain control." And of course that's obvious for readers. And then he says about the table, "As for the table, well, the bar's insured. I've just got to be more careful in the future." And then his attention is taken by these guys who are just arrived. "Hey, who are those freaks?" So why was the waitress saying that they couldn't use that booth? It's because this gang, it's their usual booth. And the leader says, "Look, weirdos, I don't know who you guys think you are or what circus is in town." I like the little joke here from Ringmaster. He says, "You have a problem with circuses? I could convince you otherwise." And Bruce here, again, I really like this, where the light is coming through the kind of furniture at the back of the booth, casting shadows so that his face there is mostly in shadow as well. It's really well done. There's a kind of an implication of maybe a dark rage that it could emerge. But he's calm. He says, no hypnosis. There are no exclamation marks either. Note, "Gentlemen," he says, "we didn't know this was your table, but now that we're here, we're not leaving. We're comfy." So the leader says, "Is that so, Mr. Green Body Paint?" A little joking reference, I would say, from Peter David to the late 1970s Hulk television series where Lou Ferrigno was presented as the Hulk to us by precisely Green Body Paint. This in the era before CGI, of course. So now we get a nice angle on the Hulk, his face there. This is very likely the image that is the inspiration for the cover. And he says to the leader, "That's so. Now, you can either accept that, belly up to the bar and enjoy a fine evening, or otherwise I'll be forced to beat you to a small pulp." "Yeah," says the guy, "you and what army?" I'm going to get another little joke reference from Peter David, of course. Army, he says. He stands up. Remember, like I said, 8.5, maybe 9 foot tall. So the guy is taken aback here, grabs him by the scruff of his jacket. I don't need no stinking army. So what's that a reference to? It's a reference to The Treasure of Sierra Madre. So that 1948 movie where there's a line in it, these bandits, where they say they don't need no stinking badges. So basically it's a play on that particular quotation. So Peter David, the movie buff, always working in little movie references and playing around with those kinds of cultural allusions in his comics, which makes it, another layer of fun to the reading experience. But who else is at the bar? Well, we have these three characters, and one of them says, "When do we make our move, Ulysses?" So we got to infer this is Ulysses, the one that Paris was referring to on page 1. When the time is right, heck, he says, let's give the air a chance to clear first. So Hulk there, this is the smile on his face that we have on the cover here. We can imagine that as he leans in there at this guy, that's the image that Keown has drawn. Should I dazzle you with more movie cliches, he asks, or go straight to the breaking of major organs? So the guy, now he says, I don't want any trouble. No kidding, really? Splendid. So this is a difference from Joe Fixit even. Splendid. Waitress, a round of beers from my most excellent friends who will be seating themselves at the bar. Samson asks, am I paying for them too? Of course, says the Hulk. You can take it all out of the royalties you got for the book about me. See, he says to Samson, I played nice, still concerned. But Samson still is concerned. He's cautious. Yes, for one thing, aren't you worried about where Betty is? And the Hulk says, oh, she'll be along shortly. She said she would be. And that's our cue for a scene shift to Rick Jones's apartment. And Betty's reading there from his memoir, Sidekick. The first time I saw Bruce and Betty, she quotes, together, I knew they were the perfect complement for each other, both the products of what their fathers had made them. And perhaps that realization is what drew them to each other. And then she says, you're so full of it in this book, Rick. You didn't know any such thing about us. So what does he say as he looks out the window? 20/20 hindsight. Look, Betty, let's go join Bruce down there at the bar, huh? He wanted to go out and celebrate. That seems cool. So why do you want to come back here to my place? And it's because she needed some time to think. She says, when he came out after Leonard cured him, again, that's the end of issue 377, and gave me that honey I'm home line, and then we're going to get a flashback in these 4 panels. So here we go. So we saw this at the end of 377, but Dale Keown has given us a different angle here. So a top-down angle, really good work on the back and shoulder muscles there in the artwork. And this was how that conversation went. What? Don't even have a hug for your husband? Betty, sweetheart, say something. So she starts stammering, love, Leonard, right? So she's looking for Leonard, for Samson. I know you said he wouldn't look like normal everyday Bruce because of the gamma radiation, but I wasn't expecting, good Lord. And the Hulk here is not at all concerned. Betty, I understand it's going to take some time to adjust. This is me now, Betty, the way I'm going to be all the time. You told me that your religious retreat made you more understanding, more receptive and forgiving. Once you left me, because you said you couldn't forgive the Hulk being a part of my life, are you going to leave me again? He asks. So this is very persuasive approach from the Hulk. He is, you could say that this is a little bit this is emotionally clever on the part of the Hulk. He's playing on her emotions here. And that, again, is new for the Hulk. Joe Fixit would never talk like that. Original Hulk wouldn't talk like that. And Bruce Banner himself wouldn't have the emotional intelligence to come out with a play like this either. So she's really taken aback. She says, look, I just have to take it slow, okay? Okay, Bruce? Whatever you say, he says. So he's confident. That's why he headed to the bar. Marlowe says there, that was a weird scene, I'll admit. I guess it's hard for you to accept your husband changed. Has your husband so changed? And she says, and this is interesting, it's just that Bruce was so intellectual, Marlowe, That's what drew me to him. He was so quiet, so restrained, as opposed to my bombastic father. But if so, that's to say that what Rick wrote in his book was quite right. In any case, back to what she's saying here, which is interesting. But if Leonard's right, Bruce wasn't a healthy person. He was repressed, even sick. And I like this bit. If I loved him in sickness, I have to love him in health. Because normally it's the other way around. People think of it, right? That when you get married, it's easy to promise to love them in health. But what about when they're sick or unwell? And so the reverse here is really interesting. But my heart says that this isn't the man I married, either in mind or body. And that body. And again, this is great. Peter David writing this dialogue for her. She says, I was terrified of him. I was shaking inside. I was afraid to let him touch me. He was just so overwhelming. What do I do? So the new Hulk with all the integrated personalities is terrifying, is overwhelming. And I think that Keown brings that out on that cover image. Because that's a smile. It's not a snarl. But that is a face that is potentially terrifying. Rick is there with his binoculars looking down towards the bar. And he sees these two figures in shadows in a side street looking over. There's some bruisers down there casing the bar, he says, one of whom looks like he could use Mike Tyson as a coaster. I bet they're smiling for a fight. You ladies stay here. This is a pretty funny outburst by Betty as well. She says, what is it with the testosterone levels in this country that it's crawling with superpowered bruisers who live to beat each other up? Don't we ever get a minute to breathe, for crying out loud? That's funny. So we know that something is building here. It is an issue of the Hulk after all, and after the previous issues trip into Bruce Banner's psyche, maybe we're going to get a scrap in the real world. So here in this vehicle we've got Prometheus, and he's calling into the Mount. I've just arrived outside the bar, he says. Now it's just a matter of waiting for Ulysses and his people to do their thing and praying I don't have to do mine. So here's Hector, Ulysses, Atalanta. Hector asks whether they can sit down at the booth. Sure, sit down. I'm Bruce, that's Leonard, and that's Ringo. The forgotten Ringo, says Ringmaster back there. That's funny stuff. And I'm Ulysses, name's Hector, she's Atalanta. They sit down, interesting names. You want an odyssey? An odyssey of discovery, says Ulysses, in a way, looking for a way to have less violence in our lives. So Bruce knows those names from Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. That's the reference he makes. And what does he have to say to what Ulysses says? It's a violent world. All you can do is react to it. And Hector there, notice he's got no shirt. What is it, like 1978? And the era of disco? No, not exactly. We'll learn something about Hector in upcoming issues that maybe explains why he's got his shirt off. In any case, what does he say? He says, yeah, everyone just reacts, even guys like the Avengers. They sit around waiting for bad guys to launch some scheme, and then they go after him. They never have their own game plan. The Hulk smiles at that. No way those super teams form, he says. Remember, the Hulk was a founding member of the Avengers all the way back in issue number 1. But in any case, what does he say here? He says, because when they walk down the street individually, people laugh at them. But when they travel in groups, they can always figure that people are laughing at someone else in the gang. So Hector enjoys that. Samson's not so amused. He says, I don't think that's funny. The Avengers, the FF, they do good work. But New Hulk simply says, oh, lighten up, Leonard. It's a party. What are you, repressing something? So New Hulk is a Joker. Bit like Joe Fixit, but a smarter Joker. Have fun, he says, as he raises the rest of the remains of his beer. So Leonard Doc Samson has to go to the bathroom, and Atalanta says it doesn't have to be a violent world. There are those who can make a difference. You can make a difference. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So Hulk says skeptically, what are you, religious nuts or something? Not at all, says Ulysses, just individuals concerned about the world and the state it's in. Maybe just dreaming of something a little better, dreaming of an ideal world. And Hulk here, and notice how one half of his face is mostly in shadow, says darkly, it'll never be an ideal world. as long as there are people in it. So this is interesting. Is this coming from the original Hulk? The original Hulk, who always wanted to be left alone and who always had such trouble with people. Is that the opinion that's coming out here? So Ulysses says maybe the right kind of people can make it ideal. People like, and Hulk fills in, like you, right? Why you? And Hector says because we're so cool. And the Hulk enjoys that. So he has a laugh. But now we get a complication. Rick is running into the bar from across the street, warning the Hulk to get out of there. And this is when Prometheus makes his move, trips Rick on the ground. That's a bad move because Hulk gets up out of the booth. Rick, hold on, kid. So again, that speaks to, Bruce's original act of heroism, saving Rick Jones from the Gamma Blast. It's all in there, all that characterization. This is clever, well thought out stuff from Peter David. So Ulysses runs after him saying, don't go out there, I'm warning you. He's made a mistake by saying that. The Hulk turns around. Again, love the double lighting here, how most of the front of his face is in shadow, and how that's potentially terrifying. You're warning me. Listen, Errol Flynn, nobody threatens me and nobody tells me what to do. Got that? Nobody. So he shoves him out of his way. Atalanta jumps on him. We don't do what we want you to. We want to talk, she was about to say. He basically shakes her off. She bounces on the ground. Atalanta, you okay? Fine, she says, fine. But this lummox, Ajax, thinks otherwise. He heard her. He heard Atlanta. I'll kill him now, he exclaims. Saw him, kill him now. So Achilles is there with him. This is who it is. And he's basically trying to get him to stop. And then this is a great panel here. Again, great lighting. The street's shaking. It's an earthquake, exclaims Hulk. Rick, Betty, where are they? So he's concerned about them. Kill him, says Ajax. Oh my lord, says the Hulk. Let's turn the page. Great image coming up. Full page image from Keown. Get ready for this. Look at that. That's tremendous stuff. So you can see Ajax running at him. This is the first full view we get of Ajax in his armor. The Hulk there again. Great work on back muscles, shoulder muscles. Really good stuff from Keown. And here we get our first look at Achilles as well in his armor. And he's there saying, exclaiming, Ajax don't. Oh great, now we're really in for it. So we get that fight. And Hulk here, it's not original Hulk. He's not going to go on instinct. Instead, he's thinking. I could leap out of his way, but at the rate he's going, he'd smash into the bar. People would be injured. And so Hulk acts heroically in order to prevent the bar getting hit by Ajax and people being potentially injured. So what's your story? Asks Hulk. You transform into a cassette player or a jet plane or what? So making jokes there, Transformers references. And Ulysses comes out of the bar, takes off his jacket. He's got his armor underneath. Terrific, just swell. So he's got these energy weapons as well. Runs at Hulk. He's got a sword and shield. And we've got Kirby Crackle around them as well. Blast Ajax and his fixation on Atalanta. We might still have been able to peacefully pique the Hulk's interest. I didn't want to have to fight a brawl. It's so cliche. So Hulk here attacking Ajax. Use of a screen tone there by Mark Farmer. You moron. I didn't hurt any Atlanta, which is more than I'll say for you. So we get these two powerhouses attacking each other. And the Hulk says the old Bruce Banner, when he had the Hulk's body, couldn't get madder and stronger. But this is the new Bruce Banner and the new Hulk. Getting madder isn't a problem with me. Neither is getting stronger. And when you get down here, you won't be a problem. So he's winding up to punch him. But he is attacked by these energy arrows. So who shot them? Well, it turns out to be Atalanta. And she warns the Hulk there, back away from Ajax. Come on, move it. And then she strikes him again. And Hulk says here, you people are really starting to hack me off. So, is he going to be able to keep control of himself? Is he going to explode like the original Hulk would have done? So, no. He picks up Ajax and throws him at Ulysses, Atalanta, and Hector. But he throws him just at the point that Leonard Samson is coming out of the bar. And so Ajax flies right into him. And then he realizes, I wound up causing exactly what I didn't want to happen. Namely that bruiser trashing the bar. People might be hurt. And then, this is intriguing, oh well, that's the breaks. They shouldn't be out boozing anyway. So, this is a mixed bag when it comes to the Hulk now. He can think. He is not interested in innocents being hurt. But when something like this happens, he kind of reconfigures his evaluation. Like they shouldn't be out boozing anyway. Like maybe they're not so innocent. Intriguing. This is moving more into the territory of the Ubermensch. Maybe that's what Samson has brought about by integrating all of the different personalities. He's created an Ubermensch, an Overman version of Bruce Banner Hulk that isn't tied to like the morality of regular humans. And I do think that Peter David here is thinking about this comic and about what he can do with it in the aftermath of all of the deconstruction of the 1980s, like Alan Moore's Watchmen, and even though it's not deconstruction but fresh thinking on superheroes that you get in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, I think he's bringing some of that in now into his Hulk run. A little bit of that kind of thinking out the consequences of things. So, back to the fight though. Ajax here starts attacking Samson because he's got green hair, and Ajax figures there could be a connection between him and the Hulk, and Ringmaster's just hiding behind the table there. Devil take this, he says, I'm going back to jail where it's safer. Up here on the balcony of Rick's apartment, we've got Betty and Marlowe, they're watching, and Marlowe says, we have to do something, and Betty simply says, yes. We stay out of the way while they try to show who's the biggest He-Man. So she's still annoyed and like of the frame of mind of her comment, her outburst earlier about all the testosterone in America, the America of the Marvel universe, with all these guys like hitting each other. And it does kind of connect up with that comment of Ulysses. It's also cliche having characters hitting each other, and like that, maybe that's Peter David's comment on that kind of basic level superhero comics, and he wants to do something different, and he will in upcoming issues. So Hector here, he also has an energy weapon, and he wraps it around the Hulk's arm, and it paralyzes his left arm. Hulk says, you're right, it's so heavy I can't support it anymore. So Hector himself is pulled down to the ground head first. Ulysses says, you're having the most success, Lanta, stay on him, I'm going in. So her arrows do have an effect, and Prometheus is out there. He's lined up to do something as well. That's Rick on the ground there. Notice how we're coming to the end of the issue, and Dale Keown is having to tell the rest of the story with these small panels, but it works well. Like this, it reads well. But he has to do so because he's had a few big anchor images on that. Those two full page images, like the splash page and then the one of Ajax running towards the Hulk. So he's run out of room, and he has to tell the rest of the story, the rest of Peter David's plot, with these smaller panels. So we see it here where finally Prometheus starts blasting away at Hulk, and he remembers that car. I remember this clown. So he's with you, eh? And one of those deflected bullets strikes Rick in the arm. And again, this is interesting. Obviously Hulk Bruce would not want this to happen, but it's what is happening here. And also a little bit of a joke. Rick says, oh great, my favorite shoulder. So Marlowe's concerned. Now Betty's concerned. Come on, she says. Achilles here races into action. One side, Ulysses, I'll handle this idiot. And Hulk says, "You're not exactly in a position to toss insults." So Achilles punches him in the side. Ow, not bad. That punch could dent titanium. And Hulk just gives him one punch to the head. "Trade you? Nice try, but nothing can hurt me. That's why I'm called Achilles." But he's bleeding from his nose. And nobody's seen that before. Hector's in shock. "Cripes, he's bleeding. I don't believe it." So Achilles had a legendary weakness, and hence we have our modern phrase Achilles heel. So what is this Achilles heel? What could it be? How come the Hulk was able to punch him in the nose and have him bleed? So now we're finishing up here. We have the members of the Pantheon attacking together. We have Ajax versus Doc Samson there. So Doc Samson is occupied. He can't help the Hulk. Prometheus here sends out this wire that grabs around the Hulk's legs and electrocutes him. Love the Kirby crackle as well, and the spotting of blacks. And here we go. Hulk sees that Rick is injured, shot with the bullet wound in the shoulder. Rick injured, he thinks, and then he falls to the ground. So they think they did it. We did it. He's down. Ajax wants to hit him more. Ulysses tells him to shut up. Let's see, we're on the last page, page 22. So Prometheus's car takes off. The Hulk's aboard. It's too late for Doc Samson to do anything. And aboard Prometheus's car, which looks like it is being piloted, or maybe this is a different craft actually. Is it Prometheus's car? Let me just check that again. It looks like it could be, or is it a... Yeah, and a hatch opens here for them to go up. But Hector, it looks like Hector is piloting it. So where is Prometheus? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Ulysses says, "Good going." Or sorry, who is it? It looks like Ajax says, "Good going, brothers." And then Ulysses says, "Good going, my foot. That was a disaster. We have to have a long talk about procedures." And here Hulk is not unconscious. He's pretending to be. And he thinks to himself, and when you're finished with that, you can have a longer talk about strategies. Strategies like, instead of beating my brains out fighting these guys and risking innocent lives, I allow myself to be taken prisoner so I can learn where they come from and bring it crashing down around their ears. So this is the Professor. He is a smart version of the Hulk. He is confident. He is also strategic thinking. And he is going to be a formidable figure. And yeah, this is excellent comics from Peter David. And this is the classic creative team now of Peter David, Dale Keown, Mark Farmer, Joe Rosen, and Glynis Oliver for the next year and a half on the title. Next up, Crazy 8. This is kind of more like a fill-in issue. And then with issue 381, Dale Keown returns, and we're back to the what happens in the Mount, where they take him. So one page of letters here concerning issue 374, lots and lots of praise, and there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on The Incredible Hulk issue 379. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.